dressed in orange. So, Coach, how we doing today?
Doing good, doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing very well. So, Coach, this being the ushering in of your third season as the head coach of the Orange, and here in 2025-26, once again we got a lot of new faces. I got to speak with you a couple months ago at the ACC tip-off. What has practice looked like, and what can you say about team development and kind of the unification, the gelling of this team as you got ready for the season?
Well, practice has been super competitive. It's been intense. These guys have really kind of, come together quite nicely. Obviously, the first two games, still working on some kinks and consistency, stuff like that. But the practices have been spirited, been very competitive, and they love playing with each other. And it's been exciting to be a part of it, to watch this team, get after it, from July up until this point.
From your first two seasons, offensively and defensively, when you think of scheming and planning, what have you learned from what worked, what didn't work, and kind of how you go into this season? Because obviously you take what's good and you take what didn't work, you tweak it a little bit, maybe you get rid of some stuff. So what does this offense and defensive scheming look like for you as you step forward?
I think offensively, you always have an idea of how you want to play. Certain things don't change, sharing the ball and making the right decisions and trying to play with some pace. But what I've realized in the last couple of years is that, injuries can impact and you have to make some adjustments and change.
Yeah.
So I think as a coach, you got to keep an open mind, and try to have everything prepared. You want to be, positive and wishful thinking, but, I've been hit my first 2 years with some injuries. So I've had to adjust certain things, little tweaks here and there. But overall, the main thing is, the identity of the offense has always been, and we want to play with pace, have fun, share the basketball, take the best shots possible. Each time down the court, and defensively, you make some adjustments with your athleticism, your mobility, or lack of, or whatever it may be. And then the identity of your team. You might want to do something, but the identity of your team and things that they are maybe not as good at you, and that's what you want to do. You have to adapt to that. So adaptability in the big picture, being able to adapt as a coach. My first 2 years, I think I've really learned that.
You talked about pace, and when you first became the head coach, talked about maybe going a little bit faster. How do you see this now? Is it hey, we want to work in that half court offense and be systematic and bring that clock down as we've seen some Syracuse teams do in the past? Is it still speed it up? Is it a little bit of both? How do you see it?
Well, I think when you play man to man, that increases the speed of the game and the possessions, um, just by playing man for us, um, as opposed to the teams in the past. But we want to take the best shot we can take, the shots that we work on, right? The things that we can create. Swinging the ball, being able to create different, being able to create closeouts, the type of shots that we want to take. Those are the things that we really try to focus on. And that doesn't really matter what the time on the clock is until you get to the late game situations, and now you want to manage it. And now that late game execution comes into play. But overall, it's the way we want to manufacture our points, and I don't think that's the time on that. If we get an early shot in early, we want to take those.
And you spoke about injuries in your first two seasons as head coach, and obviously that gives you the opportunity to look at your team depth. So what can you say about depth at each position this season as we step forward?
Well, my first 2 years, having some injuries take place, we really put an emphasis on trying to have some versatility and depth with this year's team. And I think, for the most part, we did a really good job. And the versatility part was really what stands out. Guys that can play multiple positions. So, we got three centers, but we could have a fourth in Donnie. So we feel like we're pretty good at that position. Now, when you go swing down to the forwards, you talk about Tyler Betsy, you talk about Nate King, you talk about Sadiq White and Donnie Freeman again. So now you feel like you got three or four there. And then when you go to the guards, and even Kyan Anthony, in the squeeze, if you want to play a three-guard lineup, which we are doing this year, that allows us to kind of have, everything covered. And if we do have some injuries or sustain some people that kind of have to sit a day or a game or two, we have enough to fill in.
Yeah, you spoke about playing a three guard situation as well. I mean, what does that look like for you, and to go a little bit deeper into when you would institute something like that and take a look at these three guards and just why you feel like that would be good to have on the floor with the talent that you have.
Well, we have three guards now, and typically out there. All of our guys can all dribble, pass, and shoot. So I think that was the biggest thing, and it allows us to have multiple ball handlers and be able to play a little bit faster. Now, what we have to do, when you have multiple guys handling the ball, they all have to value the basketball, and we have to keep our turnovers down low, which we did the last exhibition game. And we got better in that as opposed to the first exhibition game. So again, when you have multiple ball handlers, I think it makes you, harder to defend. It's two or three guys that can make some plays or that can make shots or that can get into the lane. That's difficult to defend.
When you look at that, we talk about a Nate George, J.J. Starling, Cayenne Anthony. They're not all the same. Obviously, you bring them on for different reasons. And like you said, guys can play multiple, and you keep going back to the word versatility. When you see, like when a defense is to see a Nate, Cayenne, and JJ at the same time, what type of problem does that create? I mean, why are you happy? We always talk about having a junkyard dog, but to have them on your side, not on the other side. So what's it like having these three dogs on the same team on the court at the same time and how they play off each other?
I mean, I think it opens up the floor. It gives us a lot of space, and it gives them some space to work and be creative and do things, from an offensive standpoint. It really just balloons the floor because you have to guard all three of those guys. Those guys are all threats. You cannot. They all can shoot it. They all can, put pressure on the rim. So it really opens up the floor.
And then as far as Donnie Freeman, we saw him, and you talk about injuries last year, went down with an injury. People were really excited about him as a true freshman. He decides to come back, and for him, it's go to work. When I talked with him about it, it was like it wasn't even a thought. Of course, I'm coming back and I'm doing this. What is it like having him, and have you already seen leadership come through him, even though he's a young player?
Oh, I'm super excited for Donnie to be back here. He's grown tremendously. He's had a really good summer. I think he's one of the best young talents and young versatile forwards in the country, not just here, but in the country. Just super excited about his progress, his maturity. Him being 100% healthy with that year under his belt, being able to play some games, but also being able to kind of go through that storm that I would say that we went through last year and getting a chance to see it. So I think he's just come back, and I'm really excited for him and what the type of season he's going to have for us.
And Adrian, before I let you go, we look at the fact that we're opening this season against Binghamton. I spoke with Lavelle Sanders, the head coach there. He said he's wanted to get this on the schedule for a while. Your teams are only separated by an hour on 81, probably 3 hours now with all the construction, but an hour typically. So what are your thoughts about playing Binghamton and having Lavelle and the Bearcats come into the Dome to start off the season?
You want to talk about schedule philosophies, and I know that this is, probably his best team that he's had, since he's been there. I know Lavelle. I know his teams are going to be tough. They're going to be physical. So this is a really good challenge for us and a good game for us. And obviously being upstate, having that upstate kind of camaraderie, that'll be good to have both programs competing upstate. But this is going to be a challenging game for us. We're excited to play this game. We're excited for the season. So, this is going to be a good game.
And you and I have talked for over a decade, and, we've gotten to know each other professionally and personally. Your first two seasons, there's adversity. People want to win. At the end of Jim Boeheim, there was the adversity, right? People want to get back to the tournament. What do you want to say to the fans? Because I feel like a lot of people speak for you, Adrian, but I think the only person speaking for Adrian Autry should be Adrian Autry. So what would you like to say to the fans?
I'll say, like I said in my press conference, this is a new year, a new team, new opportunities. We don't shy away, and I don't shy away from what the goal is, we're playing and competing to win games and compete for championships. So we're excited about it. This group can do it. I'm excited about this group right here. We've really worked hard, and the biggest thing is that I want us to do it together to make this community proud, to make this community, be able to celebrate and be proud of our team and our program. We represent not only ourselves, we represent our university, and we represent this community. And I'm just excited for us to get out there today and start this season. I'm sure, we'll make this community proud. This group of guys will make this community proud.
Jim Boeheim had an Anthony. Now you have an Anthony. What does that mean to you? How crazy that is that Cayenne is playing basketball collegiately right now.
That I'm getting. I'm old. I'm old now. It's exciting though. Cayenne is, he's a fine young man, and I'm excited to coach him and to keep developing him and challenging him. He comes in, he listens and he works hard, and so it's been fun, and I'm excited, and I wanted the challenge to play a part in his development, and I'm excited that he's here.
Final two notes here. First one, Adrian, just what you've learned about yourself over these first couple of years. You had never been a head coach before. You and I sat at Borio's restaurant, and you
Mhm.
sat to my left, and you said the goal is to be a head coach someday. And when I talked to you about that at ACC tip off, I didn't even get it out of my mouth, and you said it because you remembered that. So when
Yeah.
we go back to that moment of you and I just having a fireside chat about it, and now it's real, first and foremost, again, congratulations to have this opportunity. But for you, what have you learned about you? How does Adrian Autry step into year three a little bit differently than he stepped into year one and two?
More experience, understanding, being able to go through some adversity and some trials and obviously disappointment. All of those things, I looked at as a time to learn and to really figure out, who I am and what's important and what's not important. Some things that you might have thought were important may not be as important. And I come into this season, very confident in leading a program and leading this group of men, these young men, and being able to really have conviction and belief of what we're going to accomplish this year. Being able to bounce off the last 2 years, that those experiences, and knowing how to lead, right? Being able to lead through good times, being able to lead through bad times, or trouble times, or obstacles. So I'm just a better leader. Just through those experiences, I'm just a better leader, and I'm just ready and super excited for to get this season started. As you can tell, I don't said that a couple of times. I'm ready for this group, ready for this season to go. And
Yeah,
if you don't have excitement, enthusiasm, and passion, that's you got to have that. And I think those, the first 2 years, that's a result of me just really, growing as a leader and as a coach.
coming here from Adrian Autry. The last note is Lawrence Moten. You and I spoke about him on and off the air at the ACC tip off. Are there any plans or anything you can tell us on how Syracuse's team will honor your teammate Lawrence Moten this season?
Well, as right now, we plan on continually honoring him with the shooting shirts, and we're going to put a patch on our uniform in his remembrance this year.
So, with that being said, poetry in motion, poetry in Moten. We know that he's going to be living on with Adrian Autry and the crew. Adrian, as always, it's a great time to talk with you. I appreciate you taking some time on game day here, and I will see you at the Dome in a few hours as we get set for what many people have been waiting a year for, which is to get back to basketball. So, I look forward to it.
Look forward to it, Dan.
All right.
Nice talking. See you tonight.
All right. Take care. Have a good day. We'll see you soon.